It's not that I want to push being vegan on someone who's not receptive. I'm trying to find receptive people, like I was receptive. So I'd like to talk to you about why I think that being vegan is not enough. I've been a vegan for about a year and a half, and I am so grateful to in this case it was a couple who are vegan, that they shared with me, and in such a way that it didn't offend me. They just shared the facts in a non-judgmental manner. And that was enough to get the wheels rolling for me and to figure out that I needed to be vegan. I needed to be free. There's something that was holding me down. There was something in the culture that I'd been born into and needed to roll it off, to get it off my back, detach from it. And that is the culture that believes that animals are just objects for our consumption or whatever we want to do with them. So why is being vegan not enough? I could, if I wanted, just be really quiet, be a vegan, not talk to anyone about it, avoid the topic, just quietly be vegan, and I would save over 100 animals a year, probably. Now, vegans are only 1% of the planet. Vegetarians are probably another 1 or 2% on top of that, so we're a pretty small minority. Pretty insignificant number-wise. But it's been consistent throughout history. You can find reports of vegetarians, not vegans so much, vegetarians throughout history. Anthropologically speaking, that man was not really designed to drink milk. Someone started, or had to, maybe they had to, they felt they had to, or maybe they did have to, rely on animal milk for nourishment and sustenance. It probably made them sick at first, because it's not digestible for adults. We're not made to digest lactose, that's what it is. It's not natural. But over thousands and thousands of years, we evolved to tolerate it. And the way we know that is, for example, in Germany, there's 5% of people that are lactose intolerant. And you go to another country, and I'll have to put it in the screen because someone else quoted this to me, and I'll find out from him. But it was another country, it may have been an Asian country, maybe China, where 95% of the people are intolerant, lactose intolerant, because they didn't have that culture where they were drinking animals' milk all the time. That was not part of their culture. So it took thousands and thousands of years for the body to naturalize the idea of drinking milk. So this idea of lactose intolerance is actually, it's normal. To be lactose intolerant is normal. So here's the other point I wanted to talk about. If you're born into this planet, and let's pretend that everybody, 99% of the world, smokes. There's chain smokers from young age, say at 12. Everyone 10, 12, they start smoking. Big tobacco owns the government, owns the medical system. Everyone is beholden to the tobacco empire. And they don't want anyone coming out with information about tobacco being bad for your health. They don't want that. So that I liken a little bit to what it's like to be a vegan. If you were that non-smoker and you just let everyone smoke and not realize that it's harmful to themselves, this is just a parallel. I know it's not a perfect parallel, but are you happy with that? You're happy? No, you're not. You're driven to find the receptive hearts and minds. You're watching out for those receptive people, and of course you're going to mention it to some, and some will react, and some will be split in the middle, and on one hand they're going to react, and the other hand they're going to say, well, it's not true. A lot of people are very reasonable. People generally are reasonable, and they will listen to reason. I think you should talk to non-vegans out of your own experience. Don't start citing all these stories you hear about this and that and this and that. Talk from your own experience. Say how you feel better, how it's changed your life. And then when you do cite all these other examples, do it very factually. And don't do it on the premise of I'm right, you're wrong. It's not going to work if you do that. That's not how I became vegan. The people who got me thinking about veganism were totally non-judgmental. I could have walked away and they wouldn't have judged. They would have been sad and heartsick that someone is still not becoming vegan after hearing all the facts. I heard all the facts. I responded to the facts. And thank goodness I did. And it took receptivity. It really did. I'm quite surprised at myself that I was receptive as I was. I was growing a lot in my life, in particular that phase to do with other things in my life. So I've already had openness. So it's timing too. You have to catch people at the right time. If you catch people at the wrong time, you may make the wrong impression and actually delay somebody from who could be receptive to veganism. You could delay it and ruin it. So there you go. It's not enough just to be vegan. You're impelled to share it, and it's not you're trying to stuff it down people's throats or forcing it. Don't force it. Just find receptive people. Be gentle about it. State it factually, not with any premise that you're right and they're wrong. No premise of self-righteousness. It's not that I want to push being vegan on someone who's not receptive. I'm trying to find receptive people. People who are receptive, like I was receptive. Because I ate meat for much of my life, although I did stop eating meat for a couple of years. And it's a long story why I went back, but I could have stayed that way. But still, I didn't really get it. I didn't get it. It didn't sink in. I was just kind of a surface thing. It was just a token thing. I wasn't eating meat. I felt like I was being a good guy and la la la. Give me a doggy biscuit or give me a handshake or whatever, pat in the back, big deal. Okay, sure, and I saved some animals that way, but I was still drinking meat, milk, and cheese. And milk is very intricately tied together with the meat industry. You can't separate them. It's just, they are hand in hand. So you can't just quit one thing and think that you're quitting it all. You're not. You have to really get right out of it. People say, well, happy cows. Tell them the facts. Tell them the facts about so-called happy cows. Tell them how they still end up at the abattoir. They still end up being shot. Tell them about milk. They think milk's not connected with meat. Tell them about the calves who are made into meat that they're taken from their moms virtually the moment they're born, and they're put in little tiny little garages. One animal garage is tied up so they won't move around, because if they move around too much they'll get too strong, and then the veal meat, the flesh, won't be tender enough. And also there's cultural pressures. Some people are very weak and can't manage the cultural pressure. They want to be cool. And veganism might not be cool in their circles, or their family may reject it, or there's tradition, or there's religious belief. Everyone is so different in their reasons for continuing to eat meat and for not considering veganism. Everyone's so unique in their reasons why. And even me in my church, there's people who have spiritually or biblical misconceptions of theology, and they allow that to run their life. And they're not thinking beyond a step or two in front of them in that sense because they refuse to. They're just content. They're happy. They don't want to change. So that's not receptivity. And of course, it's especially disappointing when you're in a so-called forward-thinking church and you think people are forward-thinking, and then you encounter that kind of resistance, and it's a bit discouraging. So I just I look at it like I just do what I can. Okay, let it rest. You can't force someone who's smoking to quit smoking. You can't force it. I mean, you could. And laws are prohibiting it. I guess to some degree laws can help. But what you need is the breaking point where the mass of people are switching around and they're all recognizing smoking is unhealthy, or recognizing that eating meat is unhealthy and unethical. Okay, I won't tie those parallels anymore. It falls apart when you try to look at it, because smoking is quite different. The thing about smoking, though, that is similar to meat is when someone says, oh, I can eat, it doesn't hurt anybody, it's my choice. Well, what about the animal? You're hurting the animal. And the same with secondhand smokers. I can smoke if I want. Yeah, I'm going to go sit down next to your baby's crib, your 1-year-old baby, and I'm going to smoke there for the next 5 hours straight. Fill the room with smoke. It's my choice. I'm not affecting anyone. Well, yes, you're affecting a baby. Who's to say that eating meat doesn't affect anyone? It does affect animals. So I hope that was interesting, and maybe got you thinking a little more about how you want to evangelize, to use the church term, sorry. It sort of works though. Or to be persuasiveness, to influence. You want to influence. Be an influence. Don't try to not influence, because you're going to naturally influence. Just amp it up a bit. Do influence. Do spread it out. Do set out to be every day. Say, okay, today I'm going to look for a receptive person. Trying to find a receptive person who needs to know what I know now, and will thank me, and will thank vegans everywhere. Because we're standing on the shoulders of other vegans too, right? Somebody else was vegan way before I was. There's already so many products now for vegans. It's making the transition a lot easier. But there are so many stereotypes and whatnot. Anyways, video's getting too long. Good night, guys.